Welcome back to another video, as our topic today will be the Palm Sunday outbreak as well. As some of you may notice that we've done a video before on this, it was on the Mayfield tornado and Hurricane Florence as well. But see, of course, I am your host today, Caleb Beer, and this is my co-host tonight, Chase Roberts as well. Now, as we jump right into our modules here, we can see that this is the Fujita scale. Some of you on previous videos might have noticed that this is a very familiar graphic. This is the exact same one, but the only difference here is that this is not enhanced Fujita scale anymore. The enhanced Fujita scale was made in 2007, and of course this tornado happened way before 2007, so of course this is just the Fujita scale. A little bit of a fun fact here is that this specific outbreak was what influenced Ted Fujita, the creator of enhanced Fujita scale and the Fujita scale. Ted Fujita was influenced by this outbreak to make the enhanced Fujita scale, and I'll explain that to you in a little bit here in a second. I'll explain that why this was influenced by him as well. Now, as we see, everything appears to be the exact same, except for we see there's no E in front of EF anymore, so it's just the F0, and we can also see that this is between 40 and 72 miles an hour. A huge difference on the Fujita scale and the enhanced Fujita scale is the wind speeds as well. And as we jump a little bit further into it, we can see there's power outages, damage to gutters and siding, and shingles have been peeled off. Once again, a lot of this may still look familiar to you, but if people have not watched these videos before, we're going to go back through this and just explain a little bit about this. As we see in our F1, we see 73 to 112 miles an hour. This is more of a moderate tornado. We can see that this is small trees being uprooted, poles can be toppled, of course broken windows, and significant roof damage as well. As we get into the F2, we can see 113 to 157 miles an hour. This is more of a considerable tornado as well. We can see roofs being completely ripped away. We can see larger trees being uprooted. We can also see cars being flipped over. And of course, we have most poles are being knocked over as well. Now, if you take a close look at the miles per hour here, in EF5 is 201 plus miles an hour. And we can already see the max threshold for an F3 is already above an EF5 now. So this gives you a pretty good example as to how much these Fujita scale really needed to change. And you'll see even later on in the slides a pure example of why this had to change as well. And another fun fact about the Fujita scale and the enhanced Fujita scale is almost the same as the Fujita scale, so they both deal with winds as well. But the enhanced Fujita scale, it takes damage into the factor as well. So the more damage, the higher the rating could obviously go as well. But as we jump into the F3, more of a severe tornado, we see most standing objects are going to be toppled, vehicles are going to be displaced, bark stripped from trees. So this can also be known, as I mentioned in previous videos, this could also be known as debarking as well. We can also see entire floors of homes are now being destroyed. We can also see an F4 here, 207 and 260 miles an hour. This is already above the threshold of an EF5. It's just incredible wind speeds, and it's almost very rare to see, even to this day, to see 260 miles an hour wind. But we can also see that much landscape is being stripped away, homes are being leveled almost, and we also see cars are now getting thrown into the air. But as we jump into an F5, which is so incredibly rare to see, we can see that it is incredible damage, but this is 261 miles an hour. That's just insane. That is such an insane amount of wind. That is just super high-powered level tornadoes as well, and you very, very, very rarely ever saw an F5 tornado. We can also see grouse being ripped from the ground, homes are being completely swept away, and some concrete is being ripped from the ground as well. Now, as we jump into a little bit more about our specific Palm Sunday outbreak, we can see that there were 47 confirmed tornadoes. That is a lot of tornadoes, even for an outbreak. That is an insane amount of tornadoes, especially just within a day and a half as well here. So we can also see one of the top 5 deadliest tornado outbreaks. So this is one of the top 5, of course, the most deadliest tornado outbreaks within the entire United States to this day as well. We can also see that unfortunately 271 people were unfortunately killed in this tragic event as well. We can also see there's $1.2 billion in damage. Now, this $1.2 billion in damage was also pre-inflation as well. So this today would be so much more money. As we jump into more basic information, of course, we can see once again, as I mentioned just a slide before, we can see the duration of this was 1 day and 16 hours, just above that threshold of a day and a half as well. We can also see the start date of this was April 10th, 1965. So once again, I mentioned before, the reason we have just the Fujita instead of the enhanced Fujita scale was this is from 1965, and of course, obviously this is before 2007. As we get into this, another example here as to why having an F5 is so rare. We had so many tornadoes during that day, and we see here is only 18 F4s, 5 F3s, 10 F2s, and 14 F1s. As you can see here, for all those tornadoes that happened, there's not a single F5 here. That just shows how incredible these tornadoes really, really were during this time. We can also see this affected Indiana, Illinois, and Michigan as well. Now, this did affect surrounding states as well, but these were the main 3 states that it hit, and of course, there was a few notable tornadoes in Ohio as well, if we really had to pinpoint a certain state outside of these 3. Now, as we break it down into, we have 3 different tornadoes here. Of course, they are within Indiana, as it's just relatively close to where we're all from, and close to Ball State especially, as we want to talk about these. Now, as we dig a little bit deeper into it, we see this is a Dunlop tornado. This was indeed a wedge. This was also an F4 tornado, very, very violent tornado. It would also beat the threshold of an EF5 today. That just goes to explain how incredible these tornadoes really were and how powerful these were as well. We can also see the damage here was $1.5 million in damage, and all of our prices here today are going to be pre-inflation as well, so today they're even worth even more money as well. We also see, unfortunately, there are 5 people that passed away during this, and 25 people were injured during these tornadoes. And we can also see the duration here was 15 minutes long. It's not terribly long, but it's definitely a longer track than what we anticipated for. As we can jump into the next one, we see Kokomo, Indiana. Of course, this wasn't our F4, but this is also another wedge as well. We can see that this did $8.5 million of damage. I do believe this is the most amount of damage we'll be seeing today on our slide for a specific tornado as well. We can also, unfortunately, see this is our highest amount of people that passed away and injured, as we see 18 people unfortunately passed away, and 200 people were unfortunately injured as well. And as we can see here, the duration was 25 minutes long, and that is just an incredibly long tornado, especially for this time, just being on the ground overall as well.
Hello, I'm your co-host for today's video, Chase Roberts, and I'll be going into our next notable tornado of this major outbreak in 1965. And as you can see, this took place in Marion, Indiana. And also, this was yet another wedge tornado. Most of these tornadoes on this day were very, very large and very intense as well. And you can also see that $6.5 million of damage was also recorded. And also, this tornado went straight through a city like this. Marion is not really very populated, but still, it's a densely packed area. And unfortunately, that much damage was recorded as well. And you can also see 13 were unfortunately killed and 150 were injured as well. And also, the duration of the tornado was 20 minutes long. Many of the tornadoes you saw on this day were very, very long tracked, and mainly it's due to the environment of the atmosphere that we saw on this day. So basically, we'll be going into the atmosphere and the environment, what created this outbreak and what made it so potent and deadly. So many of you might not know what wind shear is. So wind shear is the turning of the air in the upper atmosphere. And basically, the more wind shear you have, the better chances you have for strong to violent tornadoes. And as you can see, through the northern areas of Indiana, extending into Michigan, Ohio, and a little bit of Illinois, you could see that there was 100 knots of wind shear. And again, 100 knots of wind shear is something you're not going to really see that much, especially in weather. It's something that's going to really create those really strong to violent tornadoes. And that's what we ended up seeing on this day, mainly due to this really, really intense wind shear we saw. And next up, I'll be going into our CAPE. So basically, CAPE is the convective atmospheric potential energy. So basically, it's the instability of the atmosphere that really helps storms fire up quickly and really intensify rapidly. And also, this was recorded by the NWS in 1965. So it may not be 100% accurate, but this is what they got back then. So as you could see in the Midwest, extending all the way down to the south areas of the US as well, you can see there's 1,400 joules per kilogram of CAPE. Now, this might not be the most amount of CAPE you'll ever see, but still, it is certainly good enough to create really, really strong storms, really robust supercells, and extremely violent tornadoes. And when you pair CAPE like this to shear like we saw on this day, you can get intense supercells and really, really violent tornadoes to go along with that. So, thank you so much for watching our video. We want to spread our condolences to any of those who were lost in this tornado event. definitely any friends or family members, we want to share our condolences with you. If you want to learn more about this tornado event, visit nws.gov to learn more. Thank you so much and have a great day.